Dome where the Clippers will host the Suns. It all starts with NBA Countdown at 7 Eastern. Adam Silver, the NBA.
What if everything you thought was just bad officiating was actually part of a deeper plan? What if the referees weren't just blind, they were bought? These aren't just rumors anymore. The whistleblowers have blown past the whispers, and now the game we thought we knew, the league we trusted, is under the microscope. And the microscope is showing things far more sinister than just missed calls. It's showing manipulation, coordination, and what might be the most calculated officiating scandal in professional sports history. If you are loving this series, ensure to like and subscribe.
Commissioner in the building here for Game 5. So is the WNBA Commissioner, Cathy Engelbert.
Under WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert's leadership, whispers of bias turned into full-blown exposés. The word rigged no longer sounded like a fan meltdown. It started to feel like a valid accusation. The real shock? The source of the exposure wasn't an anonymous leak or a disgruntled insider. It was Adam Silver himself. The NBA's commissioner walked into the room, looked the cameras dead in the eye, and said, yes, there's a list of referees, and some of them weren't just making mistakes, they were allegedly getting paid to make them.
Reacting to the outstanding applause, Teresa Weatherspoon just got here from this.
In this deep dive, we're going to break down the explosive aftermath of Silver's announcement. This isn't some vague conspiracy, we're talking about concrete evidence, verified documents, and real consequences. The structure wasn't loose, it was tight. The execution wasn't sloppy, it was deliberate. And the stakes? Oh, they were enormous.
Stakeholders, coaches, governors, and general managers. Those are the people calling all the shots. Many WNBA.
Because this isn't just about referees. It's about the integrity of a league. It's about how games were steered from behind the curtain. It's about players being punished for being too good too early. It's about how one name, Caitlin Clark, became the lightning rod for a scandal that exposed the WNBA's darkest hour.
NBA fans are calling out the referee problem, and they are demanding answers, and they are demanding changes. It seems like
It started as an ordinary night under the bright lights of a nationally televised game between the Indiana Fever and the New York Liberty. Fans packed the stands, the energy was electric, and the eyes of the basketball world were fixed on one player, Caitlin Clark. She had been the most talked about rookie in decades, but the action on the court told a different story. Instead of a rising star being celebrated, she was being brutalized.
it seems like a lot of them are kind of being told what to do. There are other people pulling the strings above them. What actually happens is that
And the referee? He looked lost. Utterly and completely lost. His calls were inconsistent, his communication non-existent, and when Clark tried to speak to him after a hard foul that went unwhistled, he turned his back and literally ran away. Not walked, ran, as if contact with the players might expose his cluelessness.
We have a competition committee for stakeholders, coaches, governors, and general managers, and that competition committee.
Fans watching at home were stunned. Clips of the incident went viral. The man clearly wasn't ready for this stage. And that's when the internet detectives got to work. Within hours, they traced his experience. High school games, some AAU tournaments, maybe a summer league or two. Nothing even close to the level of what he was overseeing now.
Committee is the committee that dictates the state of the game.
Adam Silver suspends Cathy Engelbert after.
So how does a man with such thin credentials end up officiating one of the highest stakes games of the WNBA season? That's where things turned from suspicious to scandalous. According to internal documents released during Silver's press conference, this referee had appeared on the infamous list. The one that tracked not just experience, but compliance. Compliance with what? With a quiet directive. Don't blow the whistle on certain stars, especially Clark. Keep things even. Maintain narrative integrity. It didn't matter if the call was missed. It mattered whether the right image was presented to the world. This referee didn't earn his spot. He was placed. In that game, that wasn't incompetence. That was compliance in action. It wasn't just Caitlin Clark catching elbows and shoulder checks without a whistle. Sophie Cunningham, a seasoned vet who knows when something's off, found herself in the exact same boat. At one point, Sophie approached him, visibly upset, and the man did the same thing Clark experienced. He avoided eye contact, refused communication, and retreated as if fleeing a confrontation.
Referee admits she paid him. A major scandal has rocked the WNBA after NBA Commissioner Adam Silver.
The whole scene played out in front of national cameras. It wasn't subtle. This wasn't an isolated moment of poor officiating, it was systematic. Rewind the tape and you'll see a consistent thread. Both players subjected to increased contact, both of them trying to engage officials, both denied the most basic courtesy of explanation. And then the dam burst. Former referees, anonymous at first, began talking to journalists. They described a culture where officials were warned not to favor stars, especially rookies like Clark, who, in their words, hadn't earned that status yet. One ref even mentioned a meeting where footage of Clark was shown and the directive was clear: don't give her too much. The goal was subtle manipulation. Maintain parity, keep games tight. Don't let one player dominate the narrative. But what it did instead was create chaos and fury. Fans weren't watching competitive games, they were watching controlled outcomes. Players like Cunningham were collateral damage. Caught in a policy that had less to do with fairness and more to do with shaping perception. Cunningham saw it, Clark saw it, and the fans, oh, they definitely saw it. What started as frustration became realization. This wasn't sloppy officiating, this was strategy.
3 games on a hardship exception. And then back to waiting for a job, and she said there was plenty of interest. Look at the face here, look at...
Kelsey Plum didn't hold back. After another brutal game where she drove into the paint again and again with nothing to show but scratches and bruises, she faced the media and let it all out. No filter, no diplomacy, no hiding. I get fouled every play, she said, her voice cracking from equal parts rage and exhaustion. 6 free throws in 40 minutes? That's a joke. And it was. Because any fan watching the game knew what they had seen. Plum being mugged, possession after possession, without a single whistle in her favor. It was more than just missed calls, it was a pattern. And by now that pattern had a name: The List. Plum hadn't mentioned it directly, but when the cameras cut and her words spread across social media, fans made the connection instantly. The game had been officiated by a name on the exposed list. One of the referees who, according to Silver, had been given performance bonuses not for fairness, but for maintaining competitive balance. In real terms, don't call fouls for players who are perceived as dominant. Plum, a former #1 overall pick and 3-time All-Star, had unknowingly stepped into the trap. Her success made her a threat to narrative balance, and the referees made her pay for it.
You know what they said? They said, what is Becky Hammond like? I said, Becky Hammond is like going to your favorite restaurant and ordering your favorite meal, and it's still better every time.
The aftermath of her interview wasn't a fine, it was a spark. Other players began speaking in code, posting cryptic messages about narratives and whistles gone silent. The union held private meetings. Agents started pressing the league for explanations. Silver's revelation had cracked the surface, and now players were peeling it all the way back. Plum wasn't just venting, she was confirming what fans feared. The bias wasn't accidental, it was systematic. And it was hurting the very players it claimed to protect. Beneath the glare of the cameras, behind the smiling league announcements and buzzy highlight reels, a small group of stakeholders quietly dictated the state of the WNBA. Officially, it was the competition committee. Unofficially, it was the narrative engineers made up of coaches, governors, and general managers. This committee wasn't just reviewing rules or tweaking officiating standards, they were setting the tone. Literally, internal memos used the phrase tone management, a euphemism for influencing how referees handled star players, foul calls, and momentum shifts.
Silver announced the immediate suspension of WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert. This unprecedented move followed.
The group wasn't acting alone. According to leaked documents from the investigation, Cathy Engelbert herself received briefings from this committee and greenlit its strategies. The directives were subtle, never direct orders. But the message was clear: don't let one player dominate the headlines. Don't let a rookie become bigger than the league. And when Caitlin Clark exploded onto the scene with sold-out arenas and viral moments, that message turned into a mandate. Referees were told not to overprotect, to avoid distorting outcomes. Translation: don't give her the whistle. One memo in particular became the smoking gun. It referenced Clark by name and warned against undermining the league's broader balance. That single sentence turned the committee from caretakers into conspirators. They weren't making the game better, they were engineering results. Every game plan, every strategy, every coach's chalkboard was being subtly distorted by the silent hand of the committee. And when the committee's reach extended to who got playoff assignments, who got TV matchups, and who got fined for speaking out, it wasn't just influence, it was control. The committee wasn't just setting policy, they were scripting the show. And the referees? They were the stagehands, carrying it all out, one missed whistle at a time.
Those damning revelations that a referee admitted to receiving compensation to influence officiating, specifically
while the public focused on missed foul calls and bizarre no-whistle moments. The real corruption wasn't happening courtside. It was happening in the travel logs. According to Silver's internal probe, referees who followed the tone directive were being rewarded with lavish travel perks. Not raises, not title promotions. No, this wasn't official enough to leave a paper trail that deep. This was backdoor bribery disguised as business class boarding passes and hotel upgrades in beachfront properties. Referees who played the game the right way, i.e. kept Clark in check and let the contact fly, were suddenly getting priority assignments in cities like Los Angeles, Miami, and Chicago. And when they landed, suites, chauffeurs, dinners billed to league accounts, all off the books. All brushed off as discretionary travel needs. How do we know this wasn't just coincidence? Because the referees who didn't play along, they were sent to the shadows. Low-profile games in near-Embley arenas. Back-to-back travel days without breaks. Budget hotels. One referee, according to a whistleblower, got pulled off of Finals Game 3 for giving Clark 2 early free throws in a previous game. 2. That was enough to get reassigned to a meaningless game in a city so small, the gym didn't even have working air conditioning. This wasn't favoritism, this was punishment and reward dressed up as logistics, a literal carrot and stick travel itinerary. The referees didn't have to be told twice. Once they realized what was at stake, not just reputation but lifestyle, they adjusted. And suddenly, referees were less like impartial adjudicators and more like performance actors in a live show scripted by league PR. Silver's report didn't just name names, it listed cities, flight records, even meal reimbursements. The evidence was overwhelming, and worst of all, it worked. These subtle, under-the-radar perks shaped officiating more than any rule change ever could. If Caitlin Clark were any other rookie, this wouldn't be a story. But she's not. She's a phenomenon. The kind of athlete that ignites a movement, not just a box score. From the moment she stepped onto a WNBA court, everything changed. Ratings, attendance, media coverage, and apparently the officiating too. The internal memos didn't just reference her, they revolved around her. Silver's report described entire game prep packets where Clark was the focal point, not because of her play style, but because of her impact on perceived balance. That's the league's phrase, not ours. Perceived balance in this context means don't let her dominate. So what did the referees do? They let the contact fly. They let it play out. Clark would drive to the rim, take elbows to the ribs, swipes to the face, land on her hip, and get nothing. Crickets. And the justification was always the same. She's tough. She can take it. But here's the kicker. Nobody else was being asked to take it. The veteran stars were getting whistles for soft taps, but Clark? She was absorbing playoff-level physicality in regular season games. All because the league feared she was shining too bright too soon. Instead of elevating the rest of the league to meet her, they tried to dim her. And that's not just short-sighted, it's sabotage. Clark never complained publicly, she kept playing. But the bruises told the story, and now, with Silver's evidence laid bare, the league's handling of her looks less like mismanagement and more like strategic suppression. They didn't want another face of the league, they wanted an ensemble cast, but Clark was outshining the ensemble, so instead of building around her, they built barriers, and every uncalled foul was a brick in the wall they tried to build around her rise. It was a marquee matchup. Primetime, two top-tier teams, playoff implications on the line. And in the middle of it all, one whistle that never blew, the play was undeniable. Clark, mid-drive, hacked across the arm, stumbling into a crowd of bodies while the ball flew out of bounds. Everyone watching knew. The arena knew. The commentators gasped. Fans screamed. But the referee? He stood there frozen, lips sealed, whistle untouched. It would have been laughable if it weren't so calculated. Later, fans cross-checked the footage with Silver's list. Surprise, surprise, the referee was on it.
Controversy erupted after several viral videos showed Clark repeatedly fouled without calls during a critical game against the New York Liberty.
Officiating in the WNBA became as hot button of an issue as any. Heated debates surrounding the league's physicality dominated the headlines, particularly when Indiana Fever star rookie Caitlin Clark was subject to several intentional fouls. The referees who were refereeing the—
But this wasn't about stats anymore. It was about optics. The league had built a culture where silence was rewarded, and this referee was just doing what he'd been silently trained to do. Even worse, the other refs didn't correct him. The game continued, momentum shifted, and Clark's team lost by a narrow margin. One call could have changed the game, but it never came. This wasn't incompetence, it was a performance. And the stage directions were written long before tip-off. Fans didn't just see a missed call, they saw the inner workings of a rigged system play out in real time. If this breakdown opened your eyes to what's really going on behind the scenes, don't just walk away. Slam that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, because trust me, this story isn't over. And hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a second of the fallout. The truth is out, and we're just getting started.